So the Republicans held their convention. And during this convention, there were a number of speakers. Here goes Ben Carson explaining to his Republican audience what's worse than slavery.
Well, when you look at what the black community has been through, go all the way back to slavery. It was the family, the strong family units, and the faith in God that got people through that. That got people through Jim Crow, through severe segregation, through all the difficulties. But what really had a negative impact was when the government came along and said, there, you poor little thing. I'm going to take care of all your needs, and started implementing policies that were destructive to family formation. Those are the things that have hurt the black community the most.
The thing that pisses me off the most about this is that Ben Carson gets to say this to people who might not know better. Which is really the real thing about it. It's not that just that we have a difference of opinion. I cannot stand when black folks get to sit in front of white folks and just lie and make up shit and misinform and mislead and then say they're doing it on my behalf. Ben Carson's only been elevated because he's a black man. That's the whole thing about Ben Carson. He's not a good speaker. He's not an intellectual. He's not really apprised to the issues. He's not good in any way whatsoever on the stump as a leader at HUD or anything else. He was a surgeon, a gifted surgeon at one time. Those days are way beyond him. He's way past that shit. The only currency that Ben Carson has is that he's black and Trump chose him because he was black. That's it. There's no other bit. So he's using the one thing that he has, which is his blackness, in order to elevate himself and make himself relevant to a bunch of white people. And the only other way he can do that is to lie to them and be their Negro. Let's take apart the bullshit that he said. He said the black family was dealing with all these inequities: slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination, segregation, all these things. And all these things, but what's really bad, what really hurt the black family, was welfare. Now, folks, I'm a person that believes that there are some negative aspects of welfare. The fact that in order to qualify, the stringent measures that you have to go to qualify, the fact that they had, they were telling single moms or women who couldn't have men in the home, which, further drove a wedge between the family. And those are valid considerations. But to blatantly lie and say the most detrimental thing that happened to black people in the last 400 years was fucking welfare is a goddamn lie. And stupid. And only stupid, ignorant motherfuckers would believe it. Folks, do you know how horrendous it undermines all the shit? It undermines all the lynchings. It undermines all the execution by state officials in the form of police. It undermines all of the redlining. It undermines the mass migration, the Great Migration, where black people fled the South because they were losing their homes, they were being lynched and killed in the fucking street, and Ben Carson omits all of that. It says that welfare is the worst thing that ever happened to black people. And you notice he does not pin any of those things, any of those issues, any of the tribulations that black people have suffered in America to anything related to the Republican Party or the white folks. Nothing. Because he wouldn't want to piss them off. He's not like Tim Black, going to call it as he sees it, going to keep it real, going to speak truth to power. That's not his goal, and that's not why his ass is on that stage. Carson goes on, and look, when he starts talking about slavery, and I've said this to last because it's a growing number of coon-ass black folks who make claims about slavery. They're not based in reality. They suppress and underemphasize the hellish nature of slavery in United States chattel slavery. The horrific impact on individuals and families, our culture, our way of life, our language, our religion, everything. Our very human existence, our very humanity was stripped from us. And Ben Carson sums it all up and throws it away and starts talking about welfare. Really what tore up the family was welfare, not slavery. Now, hey, not being able to live in the house with your common law wife, with your kids that you are not married to, while she receives welfare benefits, is not the best thing. I don't think it's the best thing, and I won't applaud it. I do not support it. That was a shit policy. But to suggest a system which split up families every fucking time, split up families, separated children, and adults and all family members. Let's just do the numbers, man. Here, an institution that was protected, that was legal in the United States, that we held on to, particularly in the South, that we held on to, that we clung to. The estimates that almost 2 million Africans didn't even survive getting to America because of the deplorable, horrific, inhumane conditions that were on those slave ships. 2 million didn't even make it. We're not even talking about life as a slave. Ben Carson dismisses all of that, says the worst thing that could happen, the worst thing that happened to black folks is welfare, because it's all political bullshit. And everyone in that audience that claps is either a moron, a racist, or just completely ignorant of any facts whatsoever. That we can conflate a government policy like welfare that you may or may not disagree with to the actual enslavement of people for 400 years and try to make them seem equal. And not even equal. He's not even talking about polarity. He's saying, hey, welfare was worse. Welfare was worse. Because we survived everything except welfare. Did we survive it, Ben Carson? Did we really survive it? I mean, some of us are alive, but are we living? Now, I want to pump the brakes just for a second and give you some uncomfortable realities about slavery. Now, this article was written in the Baltimore Sun. It's from 1997, but it looks at the bones of slaves that were unearthed in New York City. It picks up here. They were constructing a work site where they were constructing a building, and they were digging the foundation, and they found these bones. And anthropologists were able to examine these bones and determine things about the cause of death. They verified that these people were slaves in the various ways in which they died, and it tells us about how they lived and the ways in which they were killed and what their daily lives were actually like. The fractures begin in the skull. They travel down his spine. They radiate toward his ribs, shooting through his legs, and then stop. This is what researchers know about life, now called Burial 171. The pile of bones belongs to an African man who died in New York more than 200 years ago. One of 427 skeletons that researchers are studying in a laboratory at Howard University. Most of the people were working at the margins of physical activity and capacity. People will work to the limit of existence, the limit of just drop dead. That's it. Some of the fractures that are visible are huge, deadly fractures from weight, from carrying weight. It says Burial 171, which is one of the bodies that they examined for this. Like others, researchers say he probably was given a load to carry on his head that was too heavy and crumpled the bones down his body. Or if he stumbled by carrying this weight, his spine could have ripped through his cranium and killed him. Half the bodies retrieved from the site never reached age 12. And almost half of those children never saw their second birthday. In the grave of Burial 335, a woman's arms were still crooked around the tiny skeleton of a newborn. when the archaeologists unearthed them. Children who live longer were under constant strain in many instances. The bones of the skull are prematurely fused. A cause of brain damage is malnourished youngsters. Other skulls show pits beyond the eye sockets and a sign of anemia. The remains bear the marks of brutal labor. The bones of Burial 39, a 6-year-old, are lopsided and sloping to the left, probably because of heavy loads the youngster carried. Both the neck and cranium are fractured. It's as though this child is being treated like an animal. The remains of one African, a woman in her 20s, was found with a crushed skull and a musket bullet in her chest. See, Ben Carson, he falsely represents what black people have gone through. He's a political toy for the right. And he's a bludgeon against black people as we struggle, as we fight, as we demand our claim for equity in this country and reparations. Ben Carson is directly opposed to that because he's busy collecting his corn fritters and his buttermilk biscuits. While information like this smacks upside the head of all these conservatives who make claims that, slavery just happened everywhere. But it happened here for 400 years, and the vestiges of it still impact us today. And we all know why Ben Carson's talking about this. It's because the entire Republican Party and unwitting, uninformed, or bad actors are talking about this critical race theory. And they're using this critical race theory in order to shut us up when it comes to conversating about race in any setting, even though critical race theory has nothing to do with us talking about Christopher Columbus, us talking about the issues the true history of black folks in this country. But critical race theory is a blanket name that the rallying cry to piss off the snowflake Republicans who now want to gripe about what their children are taught about the realities of American history. I don't know this lady, but I assume she's a professor. And she says this as plainly as anyone I've ever heard say it.
Critical race theory is not taught in elementary schools or middle schools or high schools. It's a method of examination taught in law school and in college that helps analyze whether systemic racism exists, and in particular, whether it has an effect on law and public policy. But cultural warriors are labeling any discussion of race, racism, or discrimination as CRT to try to make it toxic. They are bullying teachers and trying to stop us from teaching students accurate history.
That's exactly what their motives are. That's exactly what they're doing. And even worse than that, we have those that are totally uneducated, ignorant of the facts of what critical race theory is, ignorant to what's the motive of the right, who are basically doing their work for them. I've heard popular commentators, I don't know what they are, figures, say asinine, stupid, horrendous things just to appease white audiences or just to misinform black audiences. Why do we need to learn about slavery? Why we got to keep talking about slavery? Why do they got to do? We want our kids to know they could be anything they want to be. First of all, that's not true. Your child can't be anything their child wants to be until we dismantle this fucking system. The likelihood of your child being anything they want to be is very slim. Unless that thing is poor. Worse off than you. See, these people they don't understand the condition, the situation that we're under. Either that or they don't give a shit, okay? Because where we at right now, black children especially are going backwards. We are losing wealth. We're losing equity. We're not getting better. We're getting worse. And your denial of the systemic challenges and how that impacts your child and your children's children, it's not helping. See, we ain't going to be able to just positive think our way through this shit. There was no, what do we have to say to these people? At one time, there was no white middle class. There were just rich white people, poor white people, and niggas. That's it. Okay? Okay? You got a few anomalies. Okay? But basically that's it. Okay? Then America said, hey, we need a middle class for this capitalism shit to work. So they gave white people money. They gave them homes with the Homestead Act. They gave them a New Deal. Okay? They gave them the GI Bill, and they gave us nothing. You understand? America artificially created a white middle class and left us out of it. If it wasn't for that, the country would say, and look, and there's still vast inequalities within white people in America. But it's nothing compared to black people. Why? Because black people never received the same boost that white people got. In order to repair this shit, it's not about, we just need to think about slavery every day. We have to look at things in context because it's not just slavery. Of course, that's part of it, you moron. You moron, you child, you infant. How could you be so damn stupid? How could you be so damn stupid to deny reality? No other group walks around denying the situation that they were forced into by systemic realities infused by their government. No other group does that. I never hear the Jews propping up the fucking Nazis and excusing them and then saying asinine, corny shit that blames us for our own situation or blames them for their own situation. No one would even be heard of that. People would rebuke them and kick them out so quickly. But no, only in the black community do we have to sit back, or are we forced to listen to these so-called fighters for the people, voices of the people, or political operatives like Ben Carson blame us basically and want to play politics. This is bigger than politics. So, in essence, and let me just make it very simple. America created a white middle class and a black underclass. It did that through policy. In order for that to change, we need to do that through policy. All the rest of the shit you're talking about is it's nice. It's nice to open a soup kitchen. It's nice to open up a school. It is a positive thing to give out shoes. You fucker. That's great. But that's not how America created a white middle class. It takes more. It takes more than positive thoughts. It takes more than you live streaming, you idiot. You fucking moron. It takes more than sprinkling some shit. Bitch, it takes policy. So, when people like Ben Carson and these other conservative coons get on these platforms and spew fallacy after fallacy, it is our job, it's my job to push back. And if your ass wasn't saying asinine, uninformed, stupid shit, I have nothing to say about it. I don't look to say shit or to criticize Ben Carson and the rest of them. I'm not naming any other names. You put it together. You're all smart people. But a spade is a spade. A fucking moron is a fucking moron, and a liar is a liar. And an op is an op. So you want to continue to be misinformed? Just know We coming for that ass, and we're calling you out every step of the way. You do not get to play games. You do not get to enrich yourself on the pain and misery of black people while you save your fucking self while we suffer. You don't continue. You don't get to do that. Not on my watch. Not on my watch, and not on the watch of many others who think like me, who know what time it is. Ben Carson is a horrible, I don't give a fuck what color he is. I'm tired of people saying, he's a black man, and why you have to? No, he is an op. He is an op, okay? And ops get the same treatment. In fact, he deserves worse treatment. An op is an op is an op. For those who want to comment about this, please choose the phone line. But I'm not here for the bullshit.